I jokingly mocked my husband's childhood trauma for a week, and now he's disappeared. Okay, somebody tell me if I'm going crazy, or if my husband is the most dramatic human being on the planet. I came home from work today to a house that was just wrong. It was quiet, too quiet. At first, I didn't get it, but then I went into our bedroom. Half of the closet is empty. His side, completely bare except for a few wire hangers that made this horrible screeching sound when I pushed them aside. His toothbrush is missing from the holder, leaving mine looking lonely and stupid. The stack of old sci-fi paperbacks he kept on his nightstand has vanished. Even his ugly ergonomic chair from the study is gone. There was no note. No screaming match before he left, no slammed doors. Just silence. This morning, he kissed me goodbye like any other day. He said, "Have a good day at work, Nina." Nothing in his voice suggested he was about to detonate our lives. He packed up his most important possessions and walked out of our 5-year marriage while I was in a pointless marketing meeting, and I didn't even get a text message. And why? Because we had one single, stupid disagreement about money. About an investment he was too chicken shit to make. He's acting like I committed a federal crime. He threw our entire life away because I wanted us to have a better future, and he was too scared to take a chance. It's completely insane, and honestly, I'm so angry I can barely breathe. This isn't just an overreaction, it's absurd. Look, Marcus and I were good. We were great, actually. We met in our late 20s, built a comfortable life, and we genuinely loved each other. But there was always this one thing, this tiny, annoying crack in our foundation. Money. I believe life is for living. You work hard so you can enjoy nice things. A spontaneous weekend trip to wine country, a dinner at that new Michelin-starred restaurant, the designer bag you've been eyeing for months. What's the point of earning it if you just let it sit in a bank account, collecting dust? Marcus, on the other hand, treats our savings account like a sacred religious artifact that must never be disturbed. He was raised with a scarcity mindset that he never managed to shake. He budgets, he tracks every single expense in a color-coded spreadsheet, and he gets this weird, pained look on his face whenever I suggest anything remotely extravagant. It was like living with my own personal, joy-sucking accountant. It's always, "Is that really necessary, Nina?" Or, "We could put that money towards our retirement fund." It was exhausting. Last year, I wanted to go to Tuscany for our anniversary. He suggested a camping trip 2 hours away to appreciate nature. And I know why he's like this. God, do I know why? He has this whole sob story that he trots out any time a financial risk bigger than buying brand-name cereal comes up. When he was about 10, his dad invested their entire life savings into some sure thing, recommended by a close family friend. It turned out to be a total scam, some kind of pyramid scheme. They lost everything. The house, the car, his college fund. His parents had to work double shifts for decades just to get back to zero. He told me his father never really recovered, that he became a ghost in his own home. It's a horrible story, and of course, I feel for him. The first few times he told me, I held him and told him we would never let that happen. But after 5 years, his trauma felt less like a wound and more like a cage he'd built for both of us. His past was holding our future hostage. I always thought that with me, with the stable life we'd built, he'd eventually learn to relax. I saw it as my mission, almost. To show him that money was a tool, not a monster under the bed. To help him see that not every opportunity is a trap, and that sometimes you have to take a calculated risk to get ahead. I truly believed I could fix that broken part of him. I guess I was just another project he didn't want to complete. This whole thing started with my best friend, Chloe. She's one of those people who just seems to glide through life effortlessly. Over the past year, she's completely transformed. She quit her boring 9-to-5 job, and suddenly her Instagram feed was a blur of luxury. One week she was in Bali, the next she was showing off a brand new Chanel bag. I was happy for her, obviously, but I was also dying of curiosity. Last month, we met for brunch, and she finally let me in on her secret. She leaned in close, her eyes sparkling with excitement, and told me she'd gotten in on the ground floor of this new cryptocurrency. It wasn't one of the big, famous ones. It was an obscure coin, an insider's tip from a guy she was dating who worked in tech. Nina, it's a rocket ship, she whispered, showing me the app on her phone. The numbers were insane. The growth chart was practically a vertical line. He says it's going to go public in the next 6 months, and the initial investors are going to make a fortune. We're talking retirement money. She painted this incredible picture of our future. We'd travel the world together, buy apartments in the city, never have to look at a price tag again. It was everything I'd ever dreamed of. She made it sound so simple, so foolproof. The way she talked about it, it wasn't a gamble, it was a guarantee. She was offering me a golden ticket, a way out of the spreadsheet-filled, budget-conscious life Marcus had designed for us. All I needed was an initial investment of $20,000 to get in at her level. We had that and more sitting in our joint savings. It was our emergency fund, but this felt like the opposite of an emergency. It felt like a rescue. I went home that day with my heart pounding. I was buzzing with the possibilities. This was it. This was the thing that would finally push Marcus out of his comfort zone and show him the kind of life we could be living. I wasn't just thinking about the money. I was thinking about finally breaking through that wall of fear he lived behind. I was convinced he'd see the logic. After all, this wasn't some stranger. This was Chloe, my best friend. He trusted her, right? When I told Marcus, his reaction was exactly as predictable and infuriating as I should have expected. I laid out the whole plan while we were making dinner. I was animated, passionate, showing him Chloe's photos, explaining the tech bro's credentials. I ended my big pitch with a flourish. So, I'll just transfer the $20,000 tomorrow morning, okay? He didn't even look up from chopping onions. He just said, no, not let's think about it, not can we research it a bit more. Just a flat, dismissive no. The sound of the knife hitting the cutting board was the only other noise in the room. He then calmly, methodically, listed all the reasons it was a terrible idea, as if he were a professor lecturing a particularly stupid student. It's an unregulated market, Nina. The guy is your friend's boyfriend, not a certified financial advisor. The phrase, guaranteed return, is the biggest red flag in existence. And then, the killing blow, delivered without a shred of emotion. It sounds exactly like what happened to my dad. I snapped. The condescension, the immediate shutdown, the way he equated my well-researched opportunity with his family's 30-year-old trauma. It was too much. I felt like he wasn't just rejecting the idea, he was rejecting me, my judgment, my friends, my dreams for our life. So I got mean. I didn't yell. That's not my style. I got quiet and I got cruel. That first night, I said, "You're right. Better to let our money rot in a savings account earning 0.01% interest. Much safer that way." And for the next week, I kept it up. It became a running joke. It was a campaign of psychological warfare disguised as casual conversation. When he suggested we cook at home to save money, I'd laugh and say, "Of course. Can't be too careful. Wouldn't want to end up like Chloe, accidentally enjoying life." When he was hunched over his precious budget spreadsheet, I'd walk by and sigh dramatically. I get it. Some people are just born to be poor. It's a mindset, you know. You're just scared of wealth. Every comment was a little jab. A passive-aggressive dart designed to hit him where I knew it would hurt the most. On Saturday, when a commercial for a luxury car came on, I mused aloud. Guess some people are just built for the passenger seat of life. I weaponized his history. One evening, I even said, "It's a shame your dad didn't have someone like Chloe to give him a real tip. He might have actually made something of himself." The moment the words left my mouth, I saw a flicker of something in his eyes, but he said nothing. His silence only fueled me. I called him a coward in a dozen different ways, always with a smile on my face. "Don't worry, honey. I'll protect you from all the scary opportunities out there." I thought if I pushed him hard enough, if I made his current reality uncomfortable enough, he'd finally break. I thought he'd get so sick of my comments that he'd give in just to shut me up. I saw it as a strategy, a necessary, if unpleasant, tactic to get him to see the light. I genuinely believed I was doing it for us. Throughout that week, Marcus became a ghost in our home. He stopped talking, except for monosyllabic answers. He'd come home from work, eat the dinner I made in near silence, and then retreat to his study, closing the door behind him. I figured he was sulking, giving me the silent treatment, and it just made me double down. I'd knock on the door and say, "Don't hide in there with your spreadsheets all night, honey. The real world is waiting." I was annoyed, but also a little smug. I thought, he's thinking about it. He's starting to crack. I honestly believed he would come to me by the end of the week, hat in hand, and admit I was right. I was just waiting for his apology. Then came last night. He didn't go to his study after dinner. He just sat on the couch across from me, his hands resting on his knees. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days. There was no anger in his eyes, just a deep, hollowed-out kind of sadness that scared me more than any shouting match ever could. "Nina," he said, his voice perfectly level. "We need to talk." Finally, I thought, here it comes. I even straightened up, ready to graciously accept his surrender. "I can live with us having different ideas about money," he began, and his calmness was unnerving. "I can live with you wanting things I don't understand. What I can't live with is you using my family's pain as a weapon against me." He took a breath, and it sounded ragged. "For an entire week, you have mocked the single worst thing that ever happened to my family. You've laughed at the very thing that left my father a broken man for the rest of his life. You didn't just disagree with me about an investment. You took my deepest fear, the trauma that I trusted you with, and you used it to humiliate me. Every single day." He looked at me, and for the first time, I saw him not as my cautious husband, but as a complete stranger. "You did all of that for a get-rich-quick scheme from a friend you've known for less than a year. A friend who, by the way, has never once asked about my life or my job. And that made me realize something. You don't respect me. You don't respect my past. And I don't think you ever will." My throat went dry. My mind was racing, trying to formulate a defense, an excuse, but his next words cut me off. "So," he said, his voice finally cracking just a little, "I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I've been packing all week while you were at work. I called a moving company. I'll be out by tomorrow afternoon." And that was it. He stood up and went into the bedroom, closing the door softly behind him. I just sat there, completely stunned, the television still murmuring in the background. I was still waiting for the punchline, for him to come back out and say he was just trying to scare me. But he never did. The moment I heard the front door click shut this afternoon, the silence he left behind became deafening. The shock wore off and pure, undiluted panic set in. I grabbed my phone and started calling him, straight to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. After the 10th time, I started sending a barrage of texts. At first, they were angry. "You can't just leave. This is our home." And 5 years, Marcus, and you throw it away like this. Unbelievable. When the anger got no response, I switched to pleading. "I'm sorry, okay? I was just joking. I didn't mean it. Please just come home and we can talk. I'll do anything." The messages were a chaotic jumble of apologies, accusations, and promises. Each one was sent with a desperate prayer, and each one was met with the same crushing silence. The little green, delivered text under my last message turned into a symbol of his rejection. Then, I tried to call one last time, and it didn't even ring. He'd blocked my number. My hands were shaking. I needed to talk to someone who would understand, someone who would be on my side. I called Chloe. I was sobbing, barely able to get the words out, explaining through my tears that Marcus had left me over this stupid crypto thing. I expected her to be furious on my behalf, to curse him out, to tell me I was better off without him. But her response was lukewarm. "Oh my God, Nina, that's awful," she said, but her voice was distracted, like she was scrolling through her phone while we were talking. "Men are such babies sometimes. He'll cool off and come back." There was a pause. Then she said, "Listen, I'm so sorry this is happening, but speaking of the investment, did you manage to get the 20,000 ready? The deadline to get in at my price point is tomorrow." I was speechless. My entire world was collapsing. My husband had just walked out on me, and she was asking about the money. In that moment, the glamorous, supportive best friend I'd idolized evaporated, replaced by a cold, opportunistic stranger. I realized with a sickening lurch that she didn't care about me or my marriage. I was just a dollar sign to her. A commission. A stepping stone to her next vacation. The whole foundation of the fight that had just destroyed my life was a complete and utter sham. It's been a week now. A week of sleeping in an empty bed and making coffee for one. A week of silence. I called another friend yesterday, Jessica, trying to explain the situation, hoping for a different reaction than the one I got from Chloe. I spun the story, making myself the victim, emphasizing how Marcus had overreacted and abandoned me. "He just left, Jess," I said, my voice thick with self-pity. No warning. Over a stupid argument. I can't believe how cruel he's being. I was expecting a chorus of "you poor thing." Instead, there was a long, uncomfortable pause on the other end of the line. Then Jessica said, carefully, "Well, Nina, he's a good guy. Maybe you should just give him some space." She sounded distant, awkward. She didn't take my side. And that hurt more than I expected. So now, here I am, talking to my phone or my laptop or whatever this is, trying to sound strong. I tell myself I'm better off. "Good riddance," I mutter to the empty apartment. I don't need someone who's going to hold me back. I'm going to thrive without him. I try to picture a future full of success and freedom, a future where I don't have to justify every purchase. But then the performance ends. The bravado fades as soon as I hang up the phone. I'm alone in the living room, surrounded by the ghosts of his things. The indentation on his side of the couch is still there. And as I was cleaning out the bedroom, trying to erase him, I found it. Tucked under the corner of the mattress was a single, gray athletic sock that the movers must have missed. It's old, worn at the heel. It's nothing. But I picked it up and it still smelled faintly of him. It's the only piece of him I have left. I'm clutching this stupid, worthless sock in my hand, and I can't bring myself to throw it away. I sit on the edge of my bed, stare at the empty space beside me, and for the first time in a week, I let myself really cry. Not the angry, theatrical tears I shed for Chloe, but the silent, gut-wrenching sobs of someone who knows, deep down, that they have just destroyed the only good thing in their life.